Mary Washington Hospital Performance. I'm Andrea Clayton, presenting my case study on behalf of George Mason University, HAP725, Fall 2019, instructed by Farrokh Alemi, PhD. The source of this data comes from data.medicare.gov using the Hospital Compare Data Archive files. Some limitations of this data may be discrepancy in data reporting, values may be missing, and the 95% confidence interval with a 5% error rate. The measures I selected are the readmission 30 days for pneumonia, acute myocardial infarction, and heart failure, the excess days in acute care for pneumonia, myocardial infarction, and heart failure, and the 30-day mortality rate for COPD, which is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, acute MI, and heart failure. The 30-day readmission rate tracks any readmissions for pneumonia, heart failure, and acute MI within 30 days of discharge for the same condition. The excess days in acute care assess the number of days a patient spends in the hospital within 30 days after the date of discharge from hospitalization. And the 30-day mortality rate, this estimates the death in 30 days after hospitalization, and this death can occur in the hospital or outside of. These measures are taken from Medicare data on patients who receive Medicare benefits who are 65 years and older. This does not reflect the entire patient population of that hospital. The hospital I chose to compare is Mary Washington Hospital. It's located in Fredericksburg, Virginia, with a sister location in Stafford, Virginia. Competitors of Mary Washington Hospital are Fauquier Hospital, HCA, Spotsylvania Regional Medical Center, Centera Northern Virginia Medical Center, and Novant UVA Culpeper Regional Hospital. This is the pneumonia 30-day readmission rate control chart. Mary Washington Hospital scored higher than the upper control limit for the first two periods, falling within the control limits on the third period. And we would desire these scores to be low, so the lower you get, the less 30-day readmissions for pneumonia. The 30-day readmission rate for acute myocardial infarction, Mary Washington Hospital scores below the lower control limit for all three reporting periods. The 30-day readmission rate for heart failure shows that Mary Washington Hospital scores within the control limits for all three periods. The excess days in acute care after hospitalization for pneumonia. There's only two reporting time periods for this particular measure because Medicare did not require reporting until 2015. So as you can see, Mary Washington Hospital scored very high the first period, above the upper control limit, falling within the control limits for the second reporting period. The excess days in acute care after hospitalization for acute MI shows that Mary Washington Hospital scores within control limits, with an increase from the first and second periods of 5 days to third period near 18 days. But again, this is still within the control limits. For the excess days in acute care after hospitalization for heart failure, Mary Washington Hospital has all three time periods within control limits. The 30-day mortality rate for COPD at Mary Washington Hospital initially started off well, below the lower control limit, but then rose for the second, third, and fourth periods. This score is worsening with an upward trend throughout the reporting periods, but still within control limits. The 30-day mortality rate for acute myocardial infarction, Mary Washington Hospital has consistently scored between or within the control limits, with a nice decrease in scores for the fourth period, trending downward with improvement. And finally, the 30-day mortality rate for heart failure. Mary Washington Hospital scored slightly above the upper control limit for the first period, coming within the control limit for the second period, dipping below the lower control limit for the third period, and coming up to about even with the lower control limit for the fourth period. So these rates have improved. In summary, compared to its competitors, Mary Washington Hospital is within control limits for all measures except readmission rates for acute myocardial infarction, which are lower scores than competitors, signifying better outcomes. Thank you for your time.